literally nothing different about the two images here except for the width of the neck, and you can clearly see that the guy looks so much more facially attractive on the right. And of course, I've had about a 2-inch neck transformation myself after just 1 year of consistent neck training. Okay, welcome everyone to a new episode of Technique Tuesday. This week we're going to be looking at how to train the neck through a variety of different training techniques while avoiding injury and maximizing strength and size of the neck musculature. But before we get into the training technique itself, let's have a quick look at why neck training is so important in the first place. For me, I would say the first reason is aesthetics. In my experience, it's usually photos like these that turn people on to neck training. There's literally nothing different about the two images here except for the width of the neck, and you can clearly see that the guy looks so much more facially attractive on the right. And the same thing goes for celebrities who've had their necks photoshopped smaller. I mean, you can see just how much nerdier, almost goofier Channing Tatum looks with his neck shrunk in on the right, and this is what actor DJ Qualls actually looks like. And here's what he'd look like if he trained his neck. Now, of course, I've had about a 2-inch neck transformation myself after just 1 year of consistent neck training. Now, luckily, one thing many people do find is that once they actually start training their neck, it grows pretty fast. And I would say that's probably because it isn't a muscle that is going to get a lot of external loading in just regular day-to-day activities. So once you actually do start hitting it properly, it should actually grow pretty fast. And I think it's also important to hit the neck from an overall strength and athletic perspective. In my opinion, every athlete involved in contact sports can benefit from neck training because the neck stabilizes the head. So strengthening it can improve performance, prevent concussions, and injury. So we're going to start by hitting the front of the neck through forward flexion. Also important to develop the back of the neck, which we'll be training through neck extension. And we can also train the neck through lateral flexion. I wouldn't say it's a top priority for increasing neck width, but definitely can help ensure proportional growth. Also, rotation or anti-rotation of the head is important for certain athletes like MMA fighters. So before doing any direct neck training, I think it's important to do a quick 1 to 2 minute dynamic warm-up so you don't pull a muscle or get a really stiff neck to the point that you can't turn your head one direction, which can take a few days to go away. So before anything, I'll start with 8 to 10 head rotations, alternating directions so I don't get too dizzy, and then I'll lie down on the bench and do 10 to 12 slow tempo body weight neck curls, then flip to the side, do another 10 to 12 lateral curls with head weight, and then do the same for the rear, and you'll feel a really strong neck contraction and mind muscle connection doing this. Okay, so up first is the basic neck curl. Now there are a few ways you can set this up. Now, the simplest way is just to hold a plate to your forehead, curl your neck down and up. Now you want to make sure that your neck is actually doing the work here, not your arms or your abs. Also, once your neck starts to fatigue, your abs may try to get involved by crunching the weight up and down. So you want to curl your legs in under the bench to lock things in and really make sure that the only movement is happening at the neck. Now, as far as loading goes, I'd recommend loading in a more moderate to light rep range for neck work, generally in the 10 to 20 rep zone or even as high as 30 reps, since you don't want to risk compromising any of the spine's supporting tissues or soft tissues just to go heavier. And as long as you're training relatively close to failure, you can get the same results with higher reps and with less of an injury risk. So up next is neck extension. And again, the simplest way to load this is by placing a plate on the back of your head. I don't really use this exercise anymore myself for a few reasons. I find it a bit harder to maintain balance on the bench in the chest down position. This is where training gear becomes pretty much essential. So I'd strongly recommend investing in some sort of head harness so you can load extension much more effectively and comfortably. Now, many of you guys will know that for the last 4 or 5 months, I've been using the neck flex, which I find incredible for this. Basically, you can use it to train extension, but also forward flexion and lateral flexion. So you can load this with band resistance as well. So you can very easily set this up at home, which I actually do most of the time now if I just want to squeeze in a quick 10-minute neck workout without any real setup or risk of getting stared at the gym, even though I don't personally think there's anything to be ashamed of there. But anyway, you can get a complete and full neck workout in using just this one piece of gear, especially if you use the chain included to load some weight for extensions, which you can do on a cable rack or with a plate. Be careful not to hyperextend the neck at the top, so just stop and reverse the movement once you get to that neutral head position. And you can also include neck bridges in your training program. However, I personally think they're a bit redundant if you're already doing all the other stuff we've talked about. But with that said, I know many wrestlers and combat athletes really benefit from these movements, and I will include them in my own training from time to time.